our former Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences, and now big man, Deputy Principal, Professor Ian Boxill. I'm going to skip the next person. Beside the empty chair is me, moi, Camille Bell Hutchinson, Campus Registrar. Hey, thank you. Starting on my extreme right, your extreme left, the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Education, Professor Waibinte Wariboko. And beside him, our new Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences, Professor David Tennant. And the man who have all the money locked up. Beside Professor Tennant is our bursar, not so new anymore, Mr. Nigel Logan. Now, these are the persons who head our faculties, head our the main areas, our teaching and learning, our bursary, the deputy principal. But we do have senior managers that help to guide the principal as we think about how we're going to manage the campus. So I'd just like to introduce those who don't know, Mrs. Kathleen Sambo, our estate manager. Beside Mrs. Sambo is the CIO, head of MITS, Mr. Jeremy White. The lady who makes things happen in the library, even when things not happening there, the campus librarian, Dr. Paulette Carr. And one of the persons who have a huge portfolio in keeping our students together and managing those many halls of residence, the director of our Office of Student Services and Development, Mr. Jason McKenzie. There are other persons I think the principal will highlight in his thing this morning who are not here. I already apologize for Professor Shearer, who will appear at some point, and she's not here. Mr. Devon Smith, the campus record projects manager, is on sabbatical for this year. And so it leaves me to introduce the man of the moment. And so it is my pleasure to introduce formally to you all our new principal, Professor Dale Weber. Professor Weber was appointed campus principal of the Mona campus on August 1, 2018. He was the former pro-vice chancellor for, hold on, sorry, Prof. I have to welcome Western Jamaica campus. Clap them for me, I'm not seeing them, but they're here. Professor Weber was a former Pro-Vice Chancellor for Graduate Studies and Research and has had a distinguished career in coastal ecology and environmental management, and a strong and consistent record of teaching, graduate supervision, administration, and research excellence, which spans 30 years of service with the University of the West Indies. He joined UWI in 1989 as warden of TownHall on the Mona campus. In 1991, he moved to become lecturer in the Department of Life Sciences. He was promoted in 2003 to senior lecturer and then to the rank of professor in 2010. Between 2003 and 2007, he served as head of the Department of Life Sciences. From 1992 to 2001, he was the assistant director for the Center for Marine Sciences at Mona and returned as director from 2005 to 2015. He held the Grace Kennedy's James Moss Solomon Senior Chair in Environmental Management from 2010 to 2015. It was in that year that Professor Weber was appointed Pro-Vice Chancellor for Graduate Studies. His portfolio, however, expanded to Graduate Studies and Research in 2016 when the Graduate Studies and Research portfolios merged. As Pro-Vice Chancellor for Graduate Studies and Research, he mobilized staff and students across all 4 campuses to develop 8 multi-campus research clusters. This resulted in 4 successful international grant applications, as well as a $25 million research monitoring MOU between the university and the government of Montserrat. He also spearheaded the establishment of the posts of directors of graduate studies and research at the Cave Hill, Mona, and St. Augustine campuses. Professor Weber has an excellent record of public service, currently serving as chairman of the Environmental Foundation of Jamaica Board of Directors, convener of the Cape Environmental Sciences Panel for the Caribbean Examination Council, chairman of CL Environment and Company, and chairman of the Climate Change Advisory Board of Jamaica. At the national level, his effective engagement with the private and public sector is well known. Particularly in the environmental private sector, Professor Weber led the transformation and operation of the EFJ, as the largest environmental grant/donor organization in Jamaica. And as its chairman, he oversaw its successful merger with the Forest Conservation Foundation. I am pleased to say that in the recent national awards, Professor Weber was awarded an Order of Distinction in the rank of Commander for outstanding contribution to environmental conservation. As an academic and a researcher, Professor Weber has produced 5 book chapters and 35 publications in peer-reviewed journals. He has presented his research findings at conferences locally, regionally, and internationally, and has written over 20 technical reports for the governments of the Caribbean and attracted approximately $2.5 million in research grants over the past 20 years. He has supervised 21 MSCs, 27 MPhils, and 14 PhD students to successful completion across a range of interests from water quality and coastal ecology to oceanography, ecosystem modeling, and the effectiveness of multilateral environmental agreements in environmental management. This, ladies and gentlemen, is your new principal, Professor Dale Weber, who I now ask to welcome him to the podium.
Thank you, Campus Registrar, Dr. Camille Bell Hutchinson, team on the platform, team in the audience, colleagues all, good morning. It's great to be home. Because home is where your heart is, and one who started here pretty far back. In 1980, I was a student. I had no idea someday I'd be standing here thinking, talking like a principal. But here I am. Here we are. And we are at a crossroads. We are at a place that needs us to take on board new thoughts, new thinking. We're at a place that requires a special type of intervention that we need to do together. What I'd like to do today is to walk you through my direction that we need to decide on. And I say we because this is a collective effort. People ask me, so what is your view? What's your vision for the campus? My vision has to be your vision. It has to be what you want me to do. If you would lead, you must first serve. And I am here to be your servant. So the PowerPoint I'd like to share, and we can load that up please, is my first town hall meeting for you, for us, to talk about where we are and where we want to go. Being a scientist, I think I want to follow a logical path, and I need something to ground me, to guide me as to where I'm going. I'm after sustainable development, and you know that. And I think I could use the strategic plan, as it has been rolled out by the university, as my direction. How we implement it will determine the level of our success. I want to start by thanking my predecessor, Professor Archibald MacDonald, who, in a very visionary way, bit into a lot of the problems that we had. He has left me some legacies that some of them I need to sort my way through, but many of them I will get the credit for, but he really deserves the credit for a lot of the successes that I will reap. So I'd like to thank him publicly, and I think we should do so collectively. You will hear me talk about the collective wisdom and the collective team effort. That is the team that we will be looking for this year, next year, to take us to where we need to get to within the strategic plan cycle. The campus registrar has introduced those who are already present and a few that are arriving, but this team will meet and will constantly take on board your views. If you want a conduit to the office of the principal, those are the persons who have my ear constantly. Talk to them, take your issues to them, discuss with them. No idea is too small, no idea is stupid. In fact, the only stupid idea is the one that you didn't tell us about, because we need to talk about it. But where are we now? So we are ranked very highly as a university, and we should bask in that glory for a little. The Times Higher Education has ranked us within Latin America and the Caribbean as the 4th in terms of all the universities in Latin America and the Caribbean when it comes to international outlook, 37th out of 129 universities in Latin America and the Caribbean, and 26th on the criterion of research. That puts us pretty far up the ladder, because you're competing with some universities in Domrep in Mexico, which are 10 times our size. Punching above our weight seems to be something that we should be able to do, and I think we should be proud of it. We're also ranked very high on the global scale. The newest ranking puts us in the top 5% of best universities in the world, and we should pause on that one. And remember, we've done this with limited resources, limited budgets, declining in terms of what we get for our subventions. So we've done a lot with a little, and our goal is to try and see how much more we can do. So what do I want to talk about? The strategic plan that has been rolled out for the University of the West Indies has a AAA strategy that takes us back to the overall goal of revitalizing Caribbean development. Once upon a time, the University of the West Indies was the place all governments would come to determine what should be our next plan. How should we move forward? We aren't at that table, well, at all the tables anymore, because we haven't brought those new ideas. We need to help Caribbean governments move to a place of comfort, not just economically, but all the aspects of development, social, cultural, music, sports. Everything we do, which is within the university's remit, offers us the opportunity for us to take on the role of advising the decision makers. Better yet, we could become the decision makers, those of you who wish to become prime ministers. So we want to be revitalizing Caribbean development. We do that with our vision of being an excellent global university rooted in the Caribbean. We must remember all things that are Caribbean. We are in control of that, and we take it to the world. We take it to the world. But we want to bring back from the world what we think to be important as we put our university on its platform. So an excellent global university rooted in the Caribbean. We cannot forget our Caribbeanness. We do that within the framework of learning, teaching, research, and outreach, which is what we've always done. We've slightly repackaged that, and we say we're now going to advance learning, which is teaching, create knowledge, which is research, foster innovation, which is specialized research, towards the positive transformation of the Caribbean and the wider world, which is outreach. So what we've been doing is what we will continue to do, because that's what's gotten us our rankings. We just need to do it better and do it consistently. We'll do that using our core values of integrity. We must never be questioned about how we got to where we are, why we do things the way we do them. And if we are being questioned, we must have the answers. We must be on a path that takes us somewhere else. And that path is second core value, excellence. We can be excellent at what we do. And if we can't be excellent, we must try. We must strive towards excellence in every part of our domain. We must use gender justice in our decision-making process and allow gender justice to be mainstream. Just as we must allow diversity, which is allowing all views, and I pause on all views, to contend. We must not segregate. We must not leave out persons. We need to look at all views, all entities, and be able to allow those views to come to the table. We then have to take those views on board and work with them. Whether you are from a religious background, whether you have a particular gender bias, we want to have all within our diversity mechanism. But most importantly, student-centeredness. Without the students, we have no university. We are here for them. We therefore have to ensure that students feel that they are the number one reason that we are here. And we're going to hear that later on as I talk about what our goals have to be. But students must be our number one clients. Now, there are other clients. Their parents are clients. They're paying, well, most of them. The governments are our clients. They're paying, well, again, most of them. But you are clients as well, because how you are treated determines how you react or act with those students. So we're going to spend some time talking about how do we get the best out of all of us using students at the center. And I hope the Guild president is here, because he and I spoke a long time about what we need to do next. So our goals are the three pillars: access, alignment, and agility. And I'm going to ask you to just work through this with me. If you've never done it before, this is your first time. If you've done it, this is your refresher, and it's on the university webpage. If you can just work through access, alignment, agility in any part of your university operation, you will be working our strategic plan. Now, I'm using the strategic plan as my pathway, as my roadmap to get us to where I think we ought to go. Under access, you will see AC, there are 4 things. There are 12 goals that we have overall. Under access, there are 4 of them. To be a university for all. Now let me qualify, we cannot be a university for all and sundry. We have to be a university for all who are qualified, for all who want to be here, for all who want something from here. So we need to open ourselves, our access. The university right now needs to turn itself inside out. We've looked at ourselves for a long time, and we need to continue doing that, but we also need to look at the community that we serve. So we need to turn ourselves inside out to serve those around us. So a university for all is our first goal. 2, AC2, we need to be the university of first choice for alumni, for customers. Coming back to our customers in terms of who do we serve? Well, we need to, from our Caribbean Foundation, be that entity to whom they all turn for information, for opportunities, for the desire and the design to move forward. AC3 is improving the quality of teaching, learning, and student development. And that is perhaps one of the most important things. We need to improve what we do in terms of our teaching and learning processes. That is what we do every day: teaching, research, outreach. The teaching component needs a lot of attention. But we'll come back to that. And AC4 is improving the quality, the quantity, the impact of research, innovation, and publication. Because that is what distinguishes the University of the West Indies from all the other tertiary institutions that operate in our space. And there are many. Last check, when I was PVC, Graduate Studies and Research, I counted 60 tertiary institutions operated. Some of them are national, and this is in the Caribbean. Some of them are national. We're the only regional. But some of them are they appear very shortly, and they stay very briefly, and they disappear again. So, but they're competition. And there was a time when the university was the only game in town. The University of West Indies, we were alone. We could have done anything, including nothing, and get away with it. That's not so now. We need to change what we do because there are others that we need to think about. So what we do with our research is an important part. And in fact, 50% of that Times Higher Education ranking that you just saw is built on research, publications, citations, and how we're viewed by the rest of the world. So it's important that we take that on board. So access is one. Alignment. We want to promote greater activism. We want to be, so that's, alignment is now AL. So AL1 is, we want to be activists as a university. We want to get public advocacy on board. We need to speak. The Vice Chancellor tells me all the while that professors need to profess. So professors need to profess. We need to say more about that which we research. We are the experts. Why are we not speaking? Why are we not writing? Some of us are. More need to do it, is what I'm saying. AL2, increase and improve academic industry research alignment. Our research is valuable. We need to do research, and I'm unapologetic, we need to do baseline research. We need to do what people call foundation research. We need to do research that is important in setting the standards before you jump off to do applied research, because that is a frame of reference from which you're going to get the applied mechanism. So some people need to do that baseline research. Some people call it pure research, some call it baseline research, but we need to do that, and we cannot walk away from that. There's nobody else who will do that. But we need to also do some focused research, aligned research, where we're answering specific questions. And the only way to find out those specific questions is to ask them of those who need the answers. So we need to align with industry to say, what do you want done, industry? So that we can find some of our colleagues who are geared towards applied research to answer those specific questions. We need to do both. And we're going to do both because we have done it in the past. We need to do it in a more cohesive fashion. And thirdly, AL3, we need to promote the single university brand. Why? Because that single university brand is what has gotten us to where we are, especially, for instance, with the rankings. When the first Times Higher Education ranking came out, the University of the West Indies was ranked something like 950. And then they ranked each campus separately. And the campus is Mona campus. I mean, I don't know if they treated it as University of Jamaica or what, but Mona campus ranked way, way, way down. St. Augustine even further down. Cayfield wasn't even on the map, and Open Campus, well, they weren't even there. As one institution, however, they ranked as 900. We did. So one university increases our ability to do some of the things that we need to do, and I'm going to share some of that later on. And then finally, on the agility, well, you know better than I do that the wheels of the university turn extremely slow. Everything here takes 3 years. Well, we need to change those 3 years to 1 year, or 3 months, or something that we can see results more quickly, because we're being asked for results, and it is by our results that we're able to do some of the other things that we want to do, like ask for more money. AG1, on the agility, that's AG. AG1 is to establish a physical presence on all continents. We can only do this if the university puts a footprint there and we decide we want to work with it. I'll give you examples in a little while. AG2 is to restore financial health to the UWI. That's the university in general, and we're buying this as the Mona campus thrust as well. So restore financial health to the UWI Mona campus. Very important, and I'll come to that some more. AG3, generate economies of scale by using what we have together to make it work for us. AG4, to foster a creative, caring, accountable, motivated professional team. That is, for me, the most important thing that we need to do. Our human resource, that's our greatest resource that we have. And we need to do a lot in terms of how we engage, how we use, how we get responses, and how we move forward. And then AG5 is to foster a digital transformation, which is to move us to the next step. Many of the things that we need to fix, need to change, need to modify, need to come through a digital transformation. And Jeremy, that one is yours, but I'll come back to you. So all told, we're looking at the AAA strategic plan as something that the University of the West Indies Mona campus can use as its gateway going forward. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not asking you to go to a new place. I'm asking you to do what you've been doing, but report it, and report it accordingly. I asked, so what have we been doing? Because remember, for the last 3 years, I've been in another place. Across the road, but it seemed like miles away. So I said, what have we been doing? Just give me some examples. You can't give me everything. And I got these. AC1, accessing a world-class tertiary education. And we have been doing that. But we haven't been purporting it in the right framework, or I think, to get the credit that we deserve. Under AC3, remember that was teaching, improving teaching and learning. New programs in response to demand. We've done that. AC4, impacting development through research. We've done that. AL1, outreach locally and internationally. We've been doing that. AG2, we have a financial issue. And I don't know why we would try and hide from it, but I'm here to tell you that we have financial problems. But it's not insurmountable, and we need to find our way out of it. AG3, public-private partnership as a way to try and use our economies of scales. So I'm going to quickly go through some of the recent Mona campus highlights which fit within these sections. Just so that you recognize that you're already on the map, you're already doing a lot of what needs to happen. So under AC1 and AC3, we're looking at the world-class education. What do our numbers look like? Well, right now, we have 15,000 undergraduates, 2,800 postgraduates for a total of 18,000 students. That's good. The breakdown, by far, most of them are with Professor Tennant in social sciences, and we have distribution across other faculties. So we need to think about how we're going to increase numbers, because the university strategic plan talks about increasing numbers. Now, I'm going to pause and make a statement which I hope will resonate with you. I am not interested in increasing numbers unless those students are in fee-paying programs, because the UGC programs are not viable beyond a certain numerical threshold. And you can argue that one, but the numbers I've gotten tell me that there is a point in every faculty where increasing the students with their contribution, which we are or are not getting, and the government contribution, which we are or are not getting, there's a threshold beyond which we can continue to subsidize by our various activities. And we need to look at that carefully. It is the full fee-paying programs that allow us to subsidize a lot of the other things that we're doing on the campus. So I'm interested in new students, I'm interested in increasing numbers if they are fee-paying programs. Our postgraduate numbers are spread again across all faculties, with the Faculty of Social Sciences again having the largest number. Our undergraduate numbers, therefore, are trending down a little, but I think by the time we end the year and the registrations are in place, it'll be as it was last year and maybe a little larger. What I'd like to break down on next time registrars, we should take out the full fee paying from the UGC or the non-full fee paying programs. Our postgraduate numbers are again trending down, but postgraduates more so than undergraduates register as the year goes on. So we will have again, I think, the same or a larger number. So the beauty there is that all the new postgraduate programs are full fee and paid programs. Welcome, Professor Eldemaya Shearer, off the flight. Trends in total student enrollment, therefore, have seen an increase, and there's a little decrease this year where we are now. But I'm saying, don't watch that bump. It is going to increase. But I need it to be in full fee-paying programs. And having said that, we need to maximize how we use those full fee-paying programs. And I'll comment on that in my last slide. We are predominantly a Jamaican campus, and I would love to get back to the days when we have more non-Jamaicans in Hall. In fact, I have now friends across the entire Caribbean who lived in Hall with me who are asking, when are we going to get some Kititians back? More of them. We have a few. When are we get some more from St. Vincent and Grenadines? We need to look at that as another feeding area, but we need to also concentrate on how we grow our international, because that's where we get a lot of our funding. Gender distribution, we're still 30% male and about 70% female, and that's actually an improvement from what I heard at graduation last year, but we continue to see how we can get that gender balance towards gender justice. Towards the gender justice, there's a new gender policy, which also adds to our access. By the way, did you know that the Times Higher Education ranking asked how many female students you had, how many male students you had, how many female lecturers you had, how many male lecturers you had? What was the ratio? So we're not just throwing the numbers out there to feel good. These are numbers that mean something in terms of our rankings. Well, there is a gender policy which was passed in May this year, and I'd like you to think about it and take it on board, because it is supposed to be, one, an expression of our commitment to go forward with gender. Two, it sets up the guidelines. A mainstreaming committee has been set up, and there's a leader for each campus, a gender champion, and we are, this campus, as always, the Mona campus ends up leading. We want to lead on that so that the other campuses can learn. Our student applications have gone down from last year, and that we need to look into. Is it because we're no longer sought after in the way that we used to be? Is it that students are looking elsewhere? Is it that students are looking multiple places? I will tell you that hearing from students, they've told me that they have applied to a number of places. When they apply to UWI, they apply to 10 other universities at the same time. The question is the efficiency of our responses. By the time we respond, they've gotten an offer from the University of wherever and gotten a scholarship, and we haven't even replied to them yet. So there's some things I know there's some things we need to fix. So let's start with the small steps. Most faculties have seen a small decline in their applications, but a few have seen increases, and we need to work through our registry system to get more applicants in, but we need to respond more quickly. That's just telling us in terms of the numbers that we have. We've been able to get more students, well, back up. We've been able to get more students by getting more assistance, financial assistance. And this is where companies, organizations give the university funds and say, here, help a student who is needy, help a student who is bright, help a student who you think needs additional push. That has gone up consistently. This year, we're still in the process, so again, it's just down, but we're still giving out scholarships and giving out bursaries. And I shudder to say this, but information I get from the finance office says that not all bursaries are taken up every year. Why would that be? Is it that they don't know? I know some students don't want to feel tied, but this is giveaway. This is free money. This is something to help you. And a strange thing, a student told me that they wanted to accept a scholarship, a new scholarship. They had one scholarship and it had a certain name, and they wanted another scholarship which actually was less money, but they thought it had more prestige. So maybe it is that we need to look at how we grant the scholarships and how we work with our donors. One way of doing this, of course, is to get more money in the pot. And the CB UWI 5K run walk last year raised $10 million, which went into scholarships. This year, the run is going to be in November, and I'm urging you all to get on board. They're already telling me that I need to run, so training. Also, to increase access, we now have the Title IV Direct Loan Program, and I think we need to thank the registrar and her team for the hard work they've put in place here. What this means is that students in the United States are now able to get a loan through the United States government to come here or anywhere else, but we need to be attractive enough to get them here to come and study. And we have this until 2020. It carries some very strict rules, so I know that Deputy Bursar had to go on a training course and sold to get it right, but he's a bursar, Deputy Bursar, so he sold it and retrieved it. I'm confirmed. The approval of this, however, doesn't include MBBS, nursing, and the diploma programs, but it means we have an opportunity. Now, what is this? International students pay international fees. We have a financial problem. I want to tap into financial solutions wherever I can. Finally, on access, we have been responding to the demand out there. People have asked us, when are you going to do X? When are you going to do Y? Well, I'm pleased to say that the faculties have responded. Every faculty, except the block, have put on new programs. And the new kid on the block is, by being the new kid on the block, a response within itself. Science and technology, they have put on new programs. Humanities and education have put on new programs. Social sciences have new programs, so does the Faculty of Law. Medical sciences had new programs, and where we didn't have new programs, we modified existing programs to make them more responsive. We renamed entities to make them more aligned, And we have created new entities like the Faculty of Sports, Faculty of Engineering that I spoke about, the Mona Entrepreneurial and Commercialization Center, and the Center for Entrepreneurship Thinking and Practice, which we now need to work with to get more out of them, and I'll explain in a moment. There we have our Faculty of Engineering, which was launched just a few weeks ago. Congratulations, Dean Aiken. We also have under our belt accreditation, where Dean Tomlin Paul and his team have worked with the campuses, all the medical faculties on all the campuses, because we're accredited as one university. Here's where the one university brand works for us. Things that we didn't have, St. Augustine was able to offer. St. Augustine then said Cayfield could do this, and we put it all on one package, and we all offer one MBBS degree that's a standard across all campuses, and we're able to reclaim that accreditation that we had reduced. We never lost it, we had it reduced. Now we have it back for 3 years. Congratulations, Dean Paul. We also have accreditation for the DDS program, for the Masters in Business Administration program. And we are about to test ourselves because we are going into our next accreditation. So the UCJ will be visiting the campus. The self-study for institutional accreditation, well actually it's re-accreditation, that came hot off the press a week ago registration. And now we need to face the music. We think we've done all the right things. We think we have been a proactive entity. We think we've answered all the standards that they've asked us. But guess what? Apart from asking us, they're going to ask you. So we need to know that you know what's in our self-study. Because it's about you. It's about us. And every staff member, every student needs to be able to say, at least I know some of that. Some of us need to know all of it, but some of you need to know at least the part that surrounds you. So that when you're asked, you can say, well, this is true, this is not true, never heard about that. Because we're not saying that we're perfect, but we're saying here's where we are, there's where we need to get to, and there's how we plan to get there. The closer we are to that, better off we are, but we're going to do this together as a team. AC4 is impacting development through research, and we just stuck the YAM up there because there's so much happening with YAM. I keep learning in the research compendium what's happening. I mean, I heard last week from NPI and their anti-cancer work. I heard from the Faculty of Medicine with what they're doing in terms of drug testing. There's so many things that we're doing with our research that not everybody knows. We need to get more funds for our research. There's our distribution last year, and I'm not castigating. In fact, I'm offering. The two faculties there that had no gain for last year in terms of funds, I promise you that I am going to get funds for your faculty for research. Because we had this discussion at Appointments Committee, and it is clear that there are many areas of research that need to happen, and we need to help. So we're going to re-establish the Mona Office for Research and Innovation, put it in a location that it can actually work in to try and get. And the places that have no grants right now, next year this time, they will have grants, I promise you. Externally funded grants, well, right now, Faculty of Science and Technology leads the way, and Social Sciences comes in second. We have a bunch of other grants that we put together, and Medical Sciences has a 9% there, which I think we should be looking at for our longer-serving faculty. We should be doing more. But what do we do with that research and those funds? We want publications. Again, I remind you, it is our publications, our citations that got us the highest component of the Times Higher Education ranking. What does that mean? Although we're not publishing a lot, the average publication rate for this campus is 0.9 per full-time staff member per year. The goal for the university is 2 publications per year. Now those 2 publications, we can do it. Because there's some of us who are doing 5. Sorry. Some of you who are doing 5. I'm not doing 5. Some of you can do 8. I spoke to somebody in care last week who was doing 12. But there's some who are doing none. It means we need to figure out our mechanisms to move that forward. So again, Professor Eldemire Shearer Maury has a role to play in helping to stimulate the proposals, but also the writing and the output. We need to look at how we can move that 0.9 to a higher number in terms of our research output. And remember, research output here is part of the game changer that I I'm going to put forward. I am looking for publications in top flight journals. Yes, quality publications. I'm looking for quantity publications. I need more publications. But I'm not trading off one for the other. If you can only do one publication and it's going to a fantastic journal, do that. If you're going to do other publications, or you want to do one in a high-flying journal and one in a lower impact factor, do that. And colleagues, I'm willing to put on the table and take something to appointments committee because I believe that there's so much work that has been done in areas that are not published that we need to take control of. People call them gray literature, people call them technical reports, but I have encountered so much technical reports that have influenced national development. And the policy wall speaks to that from the last couple of research days. But it'll never find its way into a journal, much less a high-impact journal. We need to find a way to capture that, quantify it, validate it, and use it for one, assessment and promotions, and two, add it to the numbers that we use for the publication. So I promise you that I'm going to put that on the table to help us count our publications because it's important. And if I sound passionate about it, it's because while I was PVC Graduate Studies and Research, I was responsible for the Institute of Gender and Development Studies. And I found 5 countries in the Caribbean which had their gender policy determined and written by the Institute for Gender and Development Studies at the university. But it will never be published. Now, if you can influence national development, that's as important to me as getting something in a high-flying journal because you are influencing our Caribbean development. So talk to me about how we're going to use those publications which are not in a journal of high credit but are nationally important. I pause on research days because that's our engine right now. It's our avenue for making the rollout. But here's my plea to you. Research day is a 1-day, it's a 3-day event right now. I need research day to happen in your office, in your faculty, in your department on an ongoing basis. You shouldn't have to scrape together to make something happen for research day. You should pluck from your best to make research day. So we need to talk about the ongoing research that needs to happen in your departments. I'm glad Mr. Mitchell is, I don't know where Sophia found that slide, but when Mr. Mitchell made his statement in the Gleaner, I was glad that we found that slide. And to his credit, he came and spoke to us, and we've invited him to a session, so he's going to be coming back to us to talk about where we go next with our negotiation and our collaborative efforts. Research Day, of course, being the unlocker last year. So AL1, which is our social and community outreach. Now, film project perhaps is one of the 2 biggies that we have had, and our deputy principal, people ask me why I chose Ian as the deputy principal, because he's the film man, and he's going to make me look good. The UWI Community Film Project has been a major success. It is the hugest film project in the Caribbean. It has had a number of graduates, and think about the impact here. It's taken young men and women from an inner city with no skill set. It's put them on a pedestal where some of them are not. I mean, we met one the other day who is working for RGR, who is actually producing there. Take them from where they are to where they are going, to where they can. Isn't that part of our role as a university? To unlock their potential. A fantastic project, and we need to continue that one. Mona Social Services is our other biggie, where a number of things have happened. We've done beautification projects, we've done youth empowerment programs, we've looked at how we can move, again, youngsters from where they are and get them, some of them have scholarships to come to university. Some of them have been able to move leap from where they are, from an inner city community, to get jobs, to get certifications and qualifications to move them forward. And Olivine, I know you're here. Congratulations, and we need to keep it going. Now, why have I paused on those? Those are 2 biggies, but there are other developments. There's so many happening all around. Many departments are doing outreach, because remember, it's teaching, research, and outreach. Many departments are doing things and are reaching out there. Many faculties are doing it at a faculty level. We need to continue doing it, but what we need to do is to document it. You need to bring it to your departmental reports. You need to bring it to our attention so we can give you the credit for what you're doing. Because the university actually is one of the best kept secrets. Things we do, nobody seems to know. And every time we put it on show, they say, I didn't know that. The university does that too. So we need to change that. So marketing, Markham, we have a big job, but we can do it. Our 70th anniversary was this year, and it was an outreach exercise where we were able to, a number of times, touch alumni, touch graduates, touch persons in different places as we celebrate 70 years of leadership, 70 years of service. And that's something that we should continue. We have a few more events, and I'm encouraging you to participate. Now, I will remind you that the component called outreach is not something we expect to bring in funds. So while we have a financial problem, we mustn't be looking at outreach and saying, why are they sucking funds? Because it is taking funds to make us fulfill one of our mandates, which is changing the world around us. And I want you to bear that in mind. So on to the gravity issue of AG2, our financial review. Well, as it stands now, contributions from the government are smaller than they used to be. We've put in a budget for a small increase, a 3% increase, and that was approved, and we're hoping that we'll continue to be able to get the drawdown. Our strategic plans needed some funds, and we put in some money there. There's an 18% increase because we figure strategy will change our operations. Because remember, strategy is supposed to be get in, do something, back out. Operations are supposed to run continuously. When your strategy becomes operation, something is wrong. That means you're continuously strategizing, and you're supposed to do your strategy and then set about effecting it. So total government contributions are up by about 4%. We think tuition fees, and this is the UGC component, up by about 4%. The other income up by about 4%, and that's our budget request going forward. So we should have a little more money for this year. I say should, because our income statement summary tells us that 2015-16, we were at a short deficit, if you can call $139 million a deficit. 16-17, 271, but last year we were at a larger deficit of 726. So no hiding from it, we are running at a deficit right now, which will explain why I want to talk about how we're going to try and get out of this in a few minutes. The balance sheet also, look at the bottom line, our net current assets and liabilities, we actually are getting better. So that's a negative sign. Yes, that is a negative sign before it. So right now, our liabilities are larger than our assets. So we have problems. I don't know what you thought before, but I'm going to give you the reality check. And our tuition receivables is one of our biggest problems. People think the government's not paying us. Yes, we have some receivables from them. We have gate receivables from Trinidad. We have some student loan receivables. And we met with the Minister of Education 2 weeks ago, and he told us that we'll get the JAMVAT receivables, and I have every reason to believe that we will. But the biggie in the room, that elephant, is tuition receivables. Year to date, $6.5 billion. That's a B, okay? $billion. That's money we need to collect from students. Now, a lot of that is this year, because we had this policy, and here again, you're going to have to throw me out the room as a principal, but I came in and discussed with the registrar and bursar, why are we where we are? And they explained. Now, I hope I'm a fast enough learner to explain this properly. We had a policy which said students can start and they can pay whenever they can. Now, I don't know any institution in the world that you can go and start without putting something on the table. There must be something to start. You must know how you're going to start before you begin. I discussed this with the guild, and they are of the same view. You must know how you are going to start. You can't just come and say, I'm going to free breathe. So we changed the policy this year so that all new students were required to pay at least one semester in advance. You know what that did? The bursar had, for the first time, a lower cash flow problem than he's had at the start of our academic year. Now, we can't do it with those students who have been here because they have an expectation. We've worked with that expectation. We're going to grandfather this out. But going forward, I want to have us going back to the policy of paying in advance, because that's the only way you will know that you have the cash to manage. So I'm hoping that those receivables by the end of this year will be cut in half, and then next year we'll cut that in half again. What am I saying? We are here on a marathon. This is not a sprint. We're not going to fix this overnight or even over a year. I guess that's why they make you principal for 5 years. We need to creep our way out of the problems that we've got. We never got here overnight, you know. This is a number of years of deficit and different things happening. Devaluations, depreciations, and some decisions. That's 3 unfortunate Ds. But we are fortunately at a place where we can make the change, and we're going to do that. How are we doing it? Well, AG3 is how we can use our collective will to move forward, and the public-private partnerships are the way that we've been doing this. All the public-private partnerships, I'll tell you, I think are brilliant ideas. What we need to do going forward is to manage them properly. So looking at this one, the Mona well, fantastic idea. The blue line is what we used to pay for water to NWC up to 2016, and the line below is what we now are paying in terms of all the arrangements we've made for water. So we actually are making significant savings on our water, and you'll see why water is important in a while. So comparing this year with last year, well, 2017 with 2016, we have paid less every month. And you notice it's just diverging. So we're actually paying less continuously. Looking at the overall picture, so there's the 2016, 89.7 million is what we would have paid, is what we did pay in 2016. 2017, we paid about half of that, just because we brought the well on. But it's not free now, because remember we need to pay to get the well and to get the various components and the testing. So far we have gone 52 million, slightly up, and I think that's because we're starting to improve our distribution lines, and we may be using a little more for this drought here that we were in. So this is up to September, our figures that we have here. But we have a savings of $17 million on just water. The other public-private partnership that's out there and running is the 138 student living, which I will confess I did not understand, and it still needs some explaining. But we are where we are now with partners who are willing to discuss with us. I'll put something on the table. For instance, we had guaranteed a 91% occupancy for those rooms, which all told, during the term you can have 90% occupancy. In fact, right now we have 100% occupancy in all the new halls. So we can satisfy that. But the year that it started, the halls were handed over January. Most of the students already found their rooms in September. So we could not get the 91%. So we ended up with some discussions with 138. And we're at a point now where we have sat at the table and we have said, here's what we owe you, here's what you owe us. We're going to move from this point on a new arrangement. And I'm very grateful and very thankful to say that we've collected and we are about to pay over. So we're at a 0 point. So we're going into a new partnership moving forward, and 138 student living, we're going to now have to work with them and them with us to try and get a lot of the issues that we've had in the past resolved. A PPP that's coming on stream is a cogen plant, and this is costing $12 million US dollars, but I will put out there that it's held by GK Capital, who own the bonds that brought this whole thing together. Polaris Engineering, they are the ones that have been doing the engineering component. Monatech Engineering, which is a company of the university, which I'll speak about in a second, they're doing the project management and oversight. Marinsa and GE, they're doing the maintenance, and they've actually, we should add academic to that, because apart from doing the maintenance, Paul, they're also doing some courses with us and will certify some of our engineer students to be GE certified. And then New Fortress, who are bringing us the energy at a price that can't be beat. So this is a win-win-win, which we shall win on shortly. The 5 engines arrived in September. They came in late one night and created much fanfare. But they're there now, and we are working through the process of getting them online. We have a start date, which we would like to start as early as December. We're thinking of January. But we need to get those engines up and running because they are going to make a significant saving. It's managed by Pelican Power, which is the entity that's going to be looking at the overall project. It's a 15-year concession. After 15 years, we will have full ownership and the engines will be refurbished or replaced and we run again. Can't get it much better than that. And we're generating it at 0.16 cents, which is much better than other generating entities are generating at right now. Bottom line I wanted to look at is, look at our expenditure. Every 3 months, we will need to spend $60 million to get this done. Because remember, none of these PPPs are free. We need to put something back in there, but we have partners who are putting in something, and we're moving forward. So we're going to spend $60 million every 3 months. Compared with, right now, we're paying $60 million per month. So the savings will become, you think the water one diverge, the energy one will become even greater. And we need to all do our part, because this is the PPP team that's doing it, but we can do other areas. Dr. Carr and her team, they have gotten an EBSCO solar grant and $100,000 US to put solar on the science and engineering library. That reduces the energy you need to pull from your generator or from JPS. And we need to all think about how we can do more of this. Grant, because that's free money, to give us energy, which is clean energy. It's a win-win-win. So the other PPP that's online is the redevelopment of UISON to give us an additional 150 nursing students, specialist nursing. Now we're looking at some nurses for ICU, nurses for particular areas. And if teaching and learning is what we do, why don't we take teaching and learning and do it? Everybody comes and takes our nurses, and we cry. Why don't we produce enough nurses, and I don't want this to sound like the wrong thing, but why don't we produce enough nurses so we can send, not sell, so we can send to the places that want the nurses? If that's what we do, if we train nurses, let's train enough so that other people can benefit, and we can then get into partnership. So we're already talking to some hospitals that normally come and ask for our nurses to say, well, if we can guarantee you 30 nurses, what kind of finder fee are you going to pay us? How are we going to secure this? A win-win-win again. So the project partner here is LETRAC, setting up a special purpose vehicle, which is, again, the entity that will own the bond that will take this forward. This is a $14 million project. And right now the project is undergoing approval. We need to get the requisite approval, because remember, we have a system. People who have been here long before us and are far brighter than us, well, at least me, have set up a technical and environment committee, a grounds buildings committee, a finance and general purposes committee, all for the campus, that gives due diligence to everything that needs to happen. It then goes on to a university F&GPC, because something of this magnitude, the entire university needs to figure out how we're going to make it work. So we're in that approval process now, but that should give us 150 additional nurses. That's the artist's impression of the building, and it is, I'm told by my advisors, it is the one that's likely to bring us the greatest financial return over time. One that I want to mention, because Western Jamaica is a part of the Mona campus, and we went there last week Friday and had a wonderful retreat. And I'd like to thank them for hosting us and for being open with the difficulties they've had, as well as some of the benefits. Well, we would like to move on the Western Jamaica campus and decide we're going to redefine itself. We're asking questions such as, should Western Jamaica campus replicate the Mona campus? And the answer clearly is no, it cannot. It should be a niche-specific campus. It should do things that the Mona campus doesn't do. In fact, it should do things that people should leave Kingston to go to Montego Bay to do. We need to decide how that works. We had a presentation, and I'm going to just show you one of the slides. We need to look at all our Montego Bay holdings and decide how we make it work for us. So right now we're talking with 2 investors about how we develop the next step of Western Jamaica. We have architects who have been working with us. And this is something, again, I mean, all of these PPPs, Professor McDonald was the driver. And I'm just going to sit back and enjoy all the benefits. So I want you to be sure that you recognize that it started with Archie. In Western Jamaica, we have 4 properties. We have one property, which is, I don't know if you can see this one, it's at Kent Avenue. Well, that's not really our property. We're renting it, and we need to get out of it as fast as possible. Because anybody who we're paying money to is money we're losing. The University of the West Indies really needs to be able to take control of all its finances and work it in a more structured way. So we need to get out of that. It's a housing complex. Queens Drive is where we are now. That's where the Western Jamaica campus is. Completely too small for what it is they're trying to do, much less for what it is we want them to do. We have a portion of land at Hartmont. Hartmont is our next gold mine. It is right beside Cornwall Regional, and a pediatric hospital is going beside it. It is begging us to set up a medical complex in between the 2 of them, and service both. Dean Paul tells me we can do it. We already have the nurses. So we already have the nursing component, and that's one of the most successful. In fact, he was bragging the other day that the top student nurse for the last 3 years has come from Western Jamaica nursing program. So Heart Month is something we're going to do. We have to do that one, and that's a priority. But we have another priority right away, which is the Barnett Estate. We have a parcel of land that we have gotten at a really good price from a member of the Montego Bay community who is making his contribution to the educational process. But we have a window of opportunity that closes December. We need to do something with that property by December. So if you hear me trying to push to get this one through Technical and Environment, Grounds Buildings, F&GPC, and F&GPC, it is because December is not far away. We also have another plot of land, Irwin, which was the first plot we had, which we need to decide how do we use that. But just in this meeting that we had, this retreat, I know I was thinking, well, why don't we sell one portion and fund the other portions if all of them just sitting there? But I'm reliably informed that the bypass for Montego Bay is actually going to skirt and run right by those two properties. So something that we think is now inaccessible is going to be front and center. We need to think ahead and take advantage of that. And that's what this management team is trying to do. That's our design, our artistic impression of what Western Jamaica is going to look at the Barnett Estate campus. It is all designed to take advantage of that atmosphere with niche-specific programs. And then at Heart Month, that's what we're thinking of building. And it's, as I said, going to be right next to Cornwall Regional and the Pediatric Hospital, which are going to be built. And we have the design, so we are ready to start processing how we're going to use it. So I'm going to close. What's in the future? Well, part of the strategic plan, we had a framework. Now we have something called a strategy map. And when I sat with PVC Williams to say, how does the strategy map work? And he explained, and I commented, and he said, oh, well, if that's the most important thing, then why would we change that? Why don't we do this instead? We came up with a strategy map which allowed us to think, and here's how I want to explain it to you. Remember all those ACs that we had, AC1 to be a university for all, AC2 to be the port of call that most people will come to for Things Caribbean, AC3 is teaching and learning, AC4 is research. All of those are here. So AC1 is to be a university for all. You notice it's at the top line, it's in pink, and it's in the top category of student, alumni, and stakeholders. So it's been a university of first choice, so it's been an activist university that's A1, so is academic industry, so is the presence on all continents. So that's a good thing to have. What feeds into it? Financial health. We cannot do all those external things if we are not robust financially. The next line is, so finance is the second. The third line is internal operations. That now is our teaching and learning. That's our digital transformation, our economies of scale, research and innovation, and our single university brand. But those internal things can only happen if we have that creative, caring, accountable, motivated, professional staff. So, putting it in perspective, if I had $1, and well, the bursar tells us I have minus 1.7 billion. So if I had $1, I would spend 25 cents on AG4. I would spend 25 cents on AG2. I would then spend the other 25 cents on all the internals together and 25 cents on all the externals together. This is what I'm offering you to think about. We need to redistribute the priorities of how we have spent in the past going forward. We cannot spend in the same way. My observation, and I may be wrong, we've spent too much in too few places. We need to spread it so that everybody gets a chance to grow while we move forward. But I will be spending most of the money, time, effort, innovation on that caring, accountable, motivated professional staff. You You are my number one priority. Second priority is getting us on a financial footing to do all the wonderful things that we know we ought to be doing. And we will then do it internally and externally. So here I go for close. Under access, I want us to improve our teaching and learning spaces. We don't have any large sum of money to spend, but if improving teaching and learning is important, remember that was in the internal bracket, we want to get a better place to deliver. So the library has to improve. Each faculty has to improve. In fact, I would love every faculty to look like the Faculty of Medical Sciences. But give us 5 years and we might get there. But it means incrementally, Dean Wariboko, we need to do the little things that we have been doing and improve the teaching spaces that we have. But teaching spaces aren't enough. We also need to improve the office spaces because you need somewhere to work. So we need to put a little bit of effort into that as well. So our goal is to improve our teaching and learning spaces, and I'm treating your office spaces as a part of that because a lot of the teaching happens in the classroom, but a lot happens in your office and a lot happens in other places. 2, I want us to look at our niche specialties. If people are going to come to the Caribbean for something specific, what is it that we have that nobody else has? I've just thrown some up there that come to my head. Sports, culture, entertainment, environment. I mean, there are others. I need you to feed into your departments and your faculties what are the niches that we can use to separate ourselves and maintain separated as we go forward. Because that's what people are going to pay for. That's what people are going to come to us for. And that's how we get the competitive advantage. AC3, we need to improve our teaching and learning. Settle needs an overhaul. And I've spoken to the director and he's fully on board. We need to give it all the support we can. Now I'll say this and I may get the wrath of some of you. A PhD does not a lecturer make. We need to think about not just content, but how we deliver, what we're delivering, meeting students where they are so that they can empower and learn on their own. So I want you to work with me as I say we need to get settled to a point where everybody gets one step forward from where they think they are now. I remember when I did the settle program, I was like, I don't need this. I've been lecturing for how long? The day I went and I saw what it entailed, it validated some of what I was doing. I felt good about it. But it also told me you were doing some things very wrong. So I want us to work on that. The medical education unit is already started, and that's specifically in medicine. But I need it for the entire university. All faculties need to have that as a part of their jurisdiction. AC4, well, the School for Graduate Studies and Research is the driver on that research component. Quality, quantity, impact of research, publication, and innovation. Mori, we need to put Mori back online and staff it and have it roll. And we need to use the data. I was amazed when I got some of the data out of my office of planning that said what we were doing and not doing. We need to let data drive our decisions, not gut instincts. Use what we have. Access, I think we can do that. Alignment, we need to write and speak more. We need to pick those topics and decide what are we going to be articulate about. IMF, should we be doing more with them? Financial consultants, should we be doing more with them and why? Crime and security, where is the stance? What's the university's stance on crime and security? We have crime issues right here on campus. How are we managing that? Are we benefiting from any of the discourse that's going on? Plastics, the whole thing about plastics and recycling, and we need to get more involved, and those who are the experts need to speak. So I'm imploring you to step up. AL2, here's where we're going to get that industry alignment with academia. PIOJ, they've already come on board. Wayne says he wants to talk to us some more. They have some things they want us to do on their behalf. The PSOJ, well, we now have Howard Mitchell, and we're talking to him, and we're going to do more of that relationship. But don't forget that we have the Mona Entrepreneurship and Commercialization Center, which is an entity set up to incubate your ideas. So it's for students, it's for staff, any idea you have which has commercial potential. We want to take you in incubator, we want to help you develop it. It then has a rollout value which is for the campus and the university. We protect the intellectual property, but we allow ourselves to grow, and it might even bring us back some funds. There are at least 2 or 3 student projects. Right now there are 15 15 student projects in the incubator, and 2 of them are set for brilliance in terms of what the students have come up with their ingenuity. The Rush Alert is a great one, and we can do some more. I also want to mention the university 6 companies. There are 6 companies which I didn't know about until I became principal. 3 of them are making money and serving the institution. Mona Tech Park, Mona Tech Engineering, and the Mona Health Services. Those are entities that are working for the university, through the university, but outside the university and are making money. That's great, because they're satisfying all 3 goals. There are 3 that are not making money. Some people say we must cut them off. Perhaps we should. But I'll tell you, a couple of them I am not touching, like the Mona Social Services. I don't expect that to make money because it is providing a social service. And I want to take it out of the realm. People put it in the crosshairs and say, boy, it's not making money, we need to shut it down. No, we're not shutting it down. In fact, we need to grow that one. There are other communities which need to benefit. And as we look at the whole communities around us, we need to take advantage of that. We have a leadership role we need to play. The universal media, now that one, a deputy principal tells me, I've asked Professor Boxill, since he knows more about media than I will ever dream of, to lead that. So he's heading that board, and he's going to tell us what we're going to do with that radio station. Right now it's losing money, I'll tell you straight up, a lot of money. Can we afford that? No. So it either need to fly straight or fly out. So that's the situation as it stands. We need to move on that one. Mona Geoinformatics, another one that's poised. That should be doing very well, but on the books it's losing. So I'm looking at it, and we have a board meeting next week to try and figure out how do we get it to come back in line with what its mandate is and what we expect. But we already have companies that are doing some of the things that will align us with industry, because that's what those companies were set to do. That's our connection. But they're not the only ones. I'm encouraging faculties, departments, engage the industry of your discipline. Talk to them, hear from them, connect with them. You'll be amazed how much money, how much goodwill, and how much effort there is out there that can come our way as a university. AL3, well, I'm just using Medicine Salises and the Times Higher Education ranking as examples of how, as one university, we can achieve a lot more. I think we need to look at that from all faculties. So my final 2 slides are really where the rubber hits the road, because it is under AG, the agility. Remember those 2 bubbles? That's where we need to concentrate our effort. We already have the university on 2 or 3 continents. That's AG1. We have an agreement with the University of Lagos. Thank you, Dean Wariboko, for leading on that one. We have with the State University of New York. I know Professor John Lindo is currently in New York and is doing great things. We have our students that we've sent to Seju in China. So we're already on 3 continents. We can do more and get more international. Because remember, the international is a part of the Times Higher Education ranking as well. AG2 is financial management. And that was the purple bubble that we had there that we need to address. That's where 25% of our effort, time, money, whatever needs to go. Right now, salaries are number 1 thing. I asked the bursar, tell me the top 3 things in terms of what costs the university. Salaries is number 1, almost 70% in salaries. Which is why it's appropriate that that caring, accountable, motivated professional staff is my number 1 goal, because you're also the number 1 spend. Utilities are number 2, and that's water project, light, the cogen, and third one is telecom, which, Jeremy, you need to get me a better telecom deal. But those utilities, that's number 2. We've already addressed 2 of them. And that's why I said that the PPPs were a brilliant idea. Professor McDonald went after the things that were costing us the most to reduce the cost. My job, just to clean it up and make sure everything flies straight. Pension is actually number 3, because we do have a large pension outlay that we need to make. And then security is number 4. And I put that in because the registrar reminded me that security was number 2. The last time Principal McDonald had a town hall, security was actually number 2 spend. Now it is number 4. So we're doing some things there, because we've actually put in place a central monitoring system. We've improved our camera systems, but we need to close the loop, because there are a number of things. The camera is just one thing. We need a number of other things to make the security work. So what are our major incomes? Number 1 income is student fees. And 80% of our student fees right now is from the full fee paying program. You will hear that Professor Weber is very hard, because everybody, I don't know why everybody assumed that we would put in a full fee paying program and then everybody will get a discount. What's the point? Why have a full fee paying program then? But we were doing a lot of that. And I talked to the bursar, talked to the registrar and said, I want to stop that. And they said, go ahead. Because remember now we have law, engineering, and especially medicine. And Dean Paul has been very supportive. He says, principal, do your thing. So I have held it very tight this year, and I'm hoping we've already seen a lot of benefits. Because we were giving away almost 70% of those full fee paying programs by reducing it. Why would we do that? I know we were reaching out for a lot of people who have a financial problem. But I have a responsibility to run this institution, and it needs some money. So for this year, I don't know for how foreseeable future, we need to hold on those things that are bringing us income, and that is our number one income right now. Government fees or government contributions, that's number 2. So I said to Bursa, all right, so what's number 3? He said, boy, we don't have a number 3. So you mean have a number 3, you know, they're number 3, 4, and 5, but they are they're like less than 10% of any of these. So we need to look at for a third revenue stream. I need your ideas. I need your input. It could be grants from research. It could be other services that we can produce. We need to decide what that third stream is to bolster where we are. But remember, teaching, research, that's what we do. That's our core business. We intend to manage the halls of residence in a new way, and I'm coming to that in a second. Because that could be a revenue earner, but we're not a hotel. We're a teaching institution. So we need to look at maintenance of what we have, and we need to manage the PPPs. We need to put in place the practices, because getting the PPPs up and running were great. Now we need to manage them going forward so that we can continue to serve us. So that one is in bold. AG2, 25% of our effort. AG3s, we need to look at things like air travel. The deans this week decided, many of them, they would not travel for one meeting to Trinidad. A Trinidad ticket is $100,000, plus the per diem, plus they're going for one meeting that will last 7 hours. If you have a really good technology system, which thankfully I have in my office, many of them said no. No, I know St. Augustine, my colleague principal there, Professor Copeland, he actually put a no-fly zone. He said, nobody travel, we don't have any money. I didn't want to become draconian, not yet, I can do that later on. I said, those who want to go, go. Those who don't want to go, because I'll tell you, when I travel, it takes a day to go to Trinidad. You're there for a 7-hour meeting, and you come back the next day. You've lost 3 days. And worse if you go for more than 1 day. So if you love your desk, or if you're trying to clear your desk before it becomes a mountain, and when you come back it's a mountain. Some people said they would stay for the 1 day in our office and work through Zoom, and then get the day, the travel day on either side to continue with their efforts. And I applaud that. And I want to see more of that. But even those of us who have to travel, there must be a way we can look at our travel mechanism rather than using 10 different travel agents. Sorry, that's 5, because half the travel agents won't take our purchase order right now. So, let's work with the 5 who will take it. Why don't we narrow that down to 1? Why don't we just use 1? Better yet, why don't we have our own? Then the halls of residence. I see a great opportunity here. Registrar reminded us that my first job in the university was warden of Taylor Hall. Love that job. You get to see people, not in the class, in the classroom, everybody in their best behavior. In a hall of residence, you see the other behaviors. And you get to know what students really think, how they move. Managing a hall of residence is a difficult thing. Right, Jason? And we have 11 halls of residence. When I was a student, we only had 4. 11 halls of residence to manage. 8 of them right now are a loss. 8. So clearly we need to change our management. So putting everybody on notice, management changes will come to the halls of residence. First we need to cut the losses. Then we need to figure out how to make it again. Because guess what? The other halls of residence are making money. So it is possible. So we need to look at the models and decide going forward. So that's an internal discussion that we need to close on, Jason. But I come to AG4, which is that caring, accountable, motivated professional staff. That is all about HR and customer service. You are customers, but so are the students. We need to look at how we do that. Now, I know the registrar has on board her radical collaboration team, and we're going to see how we can change customer service. But guess what? you are part of the team. You're a recipient because you're a customer, but you are also dealing with the students, dealing with the public. So you are a part of making that change. We need to make a quantum shift. When I was becoming principal, when I knew and nobody else knew yet, but that's one of the town hall meeting, I walked around the campus and kind of just watched. And I saw some people in an office. They would do something, a student would come and ask, and they would give an answer. Another student would come and ask the same question, and they give the answer. After about the 5th student, I don't think they realize that it's 5 different students. The 6th student come along is like, I'm going to just answer that. Customer service is about treating everyone as if it's the first one and the only one. Now, we need to become creative, because what we should be doing is putting up a big screen with those frequently asked questions. So while they're standing there waiting to be the next one, they'll see on screen the question that they were about to ask and go, oh, I don't even need to ask it, see the answer there. We need to be proactive. So it's not just about our interaction, it's about our thought processes, our systems that we need to change. And the segue there is into AG5, which is myths, which is going to change how we do our systems. And that's all under agility. So finally, colleagues, what do I want? I want your commitment to work with me over the next 5 years to make this campus what we want it to be. We need to motivate our human resources. Who's responsible for that? The Human Resource Department. So registrar, we need to go into HR, and I don't think anybody here will mind if I say HR needs major attention. Two, we need to improve customer service. But that is all of you that need to be part of that customer service that needs improving. 3, we need to prioritize our expenditure. Led by the bursary, but the senior managers will have a major say. You see the team that we had up there? That team, I mean, they'll tell you already, I walk into the room and I tell them, okay, collective decision here. I believe X. What do you all believe? And if they take me, I'm not even going to take a vote and try to say principals, executive right. I outvoting everybody. If you all can convince me, or if I can convince you, here's where we're going. It's collective wisdom. But with that goes collective responsibility. I've told them already, once we make the decision in the room, I don't want to hear one person leave the room and say, them decide. All of us have decided. It is our university. So we're going to prioritize the expenditure. We need to maximize our efficiency. Those PPPs, if you don't keep your eye on them, they could cost you money. They actually could lose. We need to look at every aspect of what we do. Maintenance. How we maintain, the maintenance cycle that we have or don't have needs to change so that we can get things maintained. What's the point building things and then allowing them to run down, and then 15 years later you have to come back and rebuild them again? So we need that maintenance cycle enforced. But we also need to look at conservation. So all faculties, all departments, all sectors, all units need to be on point with this maximizing efficiencies, exercising conservation. We need to manage the infrastructure, and that's maintenance. So Kathleen, that one is yours. We need to manage the infrastructure that we have. Some things have been here from 1948. Some things were built last year. We need to manage everything on a schedule that allows us to be able to continue using it and get maximum out of it, which comes back to prioritizing expenditure. I know that maintenance has tried to do something only to hear that they don't have the money, or it must come in next year's schedule. So we need to prioritize. And then we need to re-engineer our processes. Jeremy, that one is yours. We need to look at whatever we can automate, whatever we can make work. Now they're going to contribute in terms of what it is. They are the content. You are the conduit. But I know that together we can make it work. And that's what I'm asking. I'm asking for your input, for your participation, for your motivation as we make this campus what we want it to be. Thank you very much.
I
really don't know what I could say after all of that. I sat there trying to capture the main points, but every point was a main point. And so I think I'll just very quickly just recap the principal's final slide. And I think one of the most important things that Principal Weber said is that he wants your commitment to work with him over the next 5 years to make this campus the place we want it to be. And I wanted to make one comment. Recently, I think it might have been in the Harvard Business Review, there was an article, and it was speaking about leadership. And it said when we want to distinguish leaders, we look at leaders who want persons to work with him or her and not work for him or her. So to me, I think it was significant that the principal said he wants us to work with him. It actually distinguishes the kind of leader that we have from many others. And so we have come to that point where we will field questions, and I am assuming the questions will be for the principal while he makes sure he drinks some water and fix up his throat to come back to answer those questions. But we're open for questions or comments at this time. And I see Dr. Gordon stare at the mic, so yes, I'll try to capture them, and then we'll have the principal, if it is to him it is addressed, come back to speak to those. Yes, Dr. Gordon Steer.
Thank you, Registrar. Principal, you spoke about expanding our numbers in terms of students and services, but I didn't hear you say anything about those of us who work in the support services. What are your plans for us, like the health center and the counseling service?
Principal, you're going to take a few and then come back? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Gordon Steer. So that question is about the plan for support services such as the health services. Any other questions or comments? Could you identify yourself as you speak to what we'll get to know who you are?
Yes. Zoya Kincaid Clark, School of Education. I just wanted to make a point. I saw in the principal's presentation that he said the Faculty of Humanities and Education had 0 grants, and that's not true. That's not true. At least I know of $27 million coming. So please put that and count that up when you have the Times rankings. So we need to, Faculty of Humanities.
So that's externally funded grants?
Yes.
Okay, so we get our figures. The principal would have got his figures out of the bursary system, so maybe we will definitely check on that. 27 million. Could you tell us about that grant that was for?
That's a grant that was received from Chase funds to fund the assessment of nurseries and daycares in catering to infants and toddlers.
Thank you.
So that's an early childhood funded project.
Thank you.
Those funds were received last year.
2017-18. What he has was for the 2017-18 academic year.
Yes.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have 4 questions.
Could you just identify yourself, sir?
Mr. Principal, my respect. Yeah. The question is, last year, I put forward one of the questions to the former principal about the health center, the condition of the health center. He said we're going to have a modernized facility that workers and students can enjoy a good health care. And I know I don't see none of that took place. Now we're talking about changing university in the next 5 years. And there is 3 other questions that very important to the member of staff, the workers, and to the management of the university. When I look around and look at the university, when I come here about 30 years ago, university was more prosperous. University is developing, yes, in research and science and 1 or 2 beautiful buildings. But if you look in other departments, that member of staff and workers have work and provide a service to the workers. Some of the departments, they don't have proper facility, no chair, no table. them full of stress. When they take leave and come back, them fat and look good. Yeah. So I think the university must start act and stop some of the talking. Another thing is that a couple years ago, Mr. Shirley put in place every year a 5-year plan, say certain equipment and like motor vehicle that workers operate, the environment where they're working. And if you look in some of the vehicles we members staff operate, you would wonder really how we survive. You have some of the workers, them management and worker in my category. Some of them cannot carry out the duty and the work and the tasks that they have because the university don't provide them with the amount of energy, resources. You have to walk to the department and beg. Like you're a beggar. The university is not a beggar. In Gilbert, a couple years ago, when we thought this university gonna fall, Professor Lee said this university can't broke. And this university was rebuilt less than a year. So I think the university must look on its policy, look on the environment that the workers are working in, look on the financial status of what they contribute to the departments, and look on the stress that the workers are going through. Because I put it forward in many meetings that the university is supposed to provide counseling for some of these workers, and it's just because the environment they're working in, and it's when them dead, you see 1 or 2 counsel come to the department and clap 2 hands and give a word of prayer. I think the university must start treat workers, students with more dignity, respect. Yeah. Yeah. The university must not just pretty up TownHall for the Prime Minister, the Minister of Opposition. No. They must put the department pretty for everybody, that the member of staff can carry out them duty and stop from beg. You know, and I'm gonna cut now. When I see sometime in my department maintenance, when no tool, maintenance is one of the most functional. We can't do without maintenance. When boss and management in them better sleep, we have to be out here. If a storm come, we have to sleep at the maintenance. And when you look and see boss up here, I walk and a beg. That's it, man. We can do better than that, man. Me do a super party here, man. Look for university, man. And we hungry and mag and poverty. Look for me. We need a properly held system for the workers. And Mr. Principal, please stop the talking. I know you as a man where really act. But I think you must look at the health center, the environment that the worker working in, the financial, what you give to the department, the budget, analyze it and see if you can increase it. Increase the office for the member of staff and management that they can work. Because some of them not go to good toilet in the place, you know, man. I tell you like, when you go in a few toilet, you may look better. I maintain and say you go in the bathroom. It's a shame. So I think that in here before we function and produce, that we can build this university in 5 years, you have to develop a strategic plan that can enhance the workers and get workers
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for highlighting a number of relevant areas of concern. I'm sure the principal captured it. If not principal, I think I tried to capture some of those as well. So we have had 3 questions so far, looking at the support services, which fall in line with my colleague from from maintenance of the health center in particular. What are the plans there? We thank the School of Education for reminding us of the $27 million Chase funding that was received, and we certainly will try to address that in the financials. And the principal, you have a tall order here. The resources for the departments, the environment of the workplace, a better budget, more adequate budget, lessening the stress of the staff, maintaining vehicles, and significantly, which I think the principal raised in his speech or his presentation, to that the cadre of workers, to treat our workers and our students with more dignity and respect. I think we take those on, and I'll ask the principal to respond.
Thank you, Registrar. And thank you, colleagues, for the questions. If you don't ask questions, it means I would have to create my own questions. So I'm all for the questions. So the health center was built when the university had a population of 8,000. The same health center is there now, and the population is 18,000. It therefore needs to at least double to be able to adequately serve in terms of just physical space. Then you have the staffing to consider, and you have the various functions that the staff carry out. So I'm very cognizant that the health center is a major area that needs attention. So I asked, what did Principal McDonald have in place? Because, I kind of came to the job and said, okay, what did Archie have? How can I improve it? How can I change it? There is a plan for a wellness center. It actually has a drawing. It is looking for a funder. Because, as I just explained, we cannot fund it from our internal operations. What we can do is that incremental increase or that incremental benefit that we're trying to do at all departments, spreading or prioritizing and spreading the spend. We will do some of that in the health center, but the health center needs a major. It don't need a little bit. It needs a whole new. But we have a drawing, and we already have discussions ongoing with 2 possible funders for a private-public partnership, which will turn it into a full wellness center. And that's part of the plan to go forward. It has even gone as far to say, are we going to expand on the current building, or are we looking for a new location to do it? So there are ongoing discussions to take that on board. Cognizant with the fact that we need to increase the staffing. There are, I'll pick on Angela and Sharon, because there are what, three counselors? 5 counselors there? Full-time? No. Correct. If you look at the ratio for 18,000 students and 5,000 staff, that's woefully inadequate. Nurses, the same thing. So there are a number of things that we need to address, and it's on the radar, it's on the horizon, but I didn't have it tangible enough to be able to say, this is what we're going to do. I need to complete those negotiations to try and get a funder to be able to help us to either do a small increment at first or go large scale. But the health center is in need of attention, and it will get that attention. Which speaks to some of what was being said in terms of trying to get the services. That's why I went back to the caring, accountable, motivated professional staff. Because whatever it takes to make you function is what we need to do. So I talk about offices, but I also talk about labs. I'll also talk about equipment. Maintenance can't maintain without equipment. So we will need to look at how that spend is prioritized to try and get those who need to function the tools that they need to function. It does mean that there are some entities that used to get spent on which are not going to get, or going to get less. And that's where I'm asking for your understanding as we redistribute or reprioritize the spend. We don't have a lot to work with in terms of this year's budget. In fact, Bursa already told me that we're running at a deficit for this year, and there's no way to get out of it. But we can't stop spending because there are things we must do. But the improvements that we need to make are going to have to be incremental unless we can get a major public-private partnership to come in. Because the funds that we have now are meeting the needs that we have. We need to go beyond that as we grow. When I did the presentation this morning, before I came over, I called the registrar and said, Registrar, my first town hall meeting. look at this and tell me, am I okay? Am I going to say anything that I'm not supposed to say? She said, you're fine. This is all in line with where you need to go. I called the bursar and I did the same thing. When I saw this zero, now, you know, I've been in charge of graduate studies and research for a long time at St. I looked at 0 for law and 0 for humanities, and I said, no, man, that's not possible. So I then sent for special projects and said, show me the money. And they said, no, this is what they have in the report, and it's been reported. I said, boy, in fact, I will look at Sophie, tell her what I said. Sophie, what did I say? I said, mind you make me go up there and say, Faculty of Humanity Education have 0, you know, worry about going to eat me. So said, so done. So, I apologize if that is incorrect. I will have to check the source of the information, because it did seem strange to me, because my comment was, but what about Chase Fund? Chase Fund will be the first place, which is why I was promising that you will have funding next year, because I know exactly where we could go to find funds, and it would have been Chase. So you're already on that. So my apologies for that, and I will have my office rectify, and welcome to the land of the funded, sir. With the other things in terms of maintenance, yes, it is how we treat each other that increases that dignity. Me from my office, I mean, when I walk over maintenance, fine, I'm good with everybody, but that doesn't change how things happen in your office. It is all of us that need to make that happen. So your supervisor needs to recognize what you do, the contribution that you make. All of us need to think of ourselves as one spoke in a huge wheel. I mean, the analogy that somebody reminded me the other day is, somebody came to me and said, boss, your car need wash. I mean, I'm like, no, it don't need wash, it's kind of dirty, but it, I said, no, you're the principal now, you know. And I have to stop and think about it. And it's true, I mean, you see this? I go branded everywhere. I'm on the plane yesterday and people look at me and say, oh, university? I make sure I don't do anything that they're not going to say, the University of the West Indies was responsible for. So, yeah. Now, I recognize after that young man said to me, your car needs to wash. And I wasn't looking at money, you know. He was just saying, principal, you can't go. You represent us now, you know. We need to take that kind of effort in all we do. Each of you, in what you do, you are important. So you need to think of yourself important. But then all of those who work with you, around you, and supervise you need to recognize that importance as well. And that's what I'm asking for. That caring, I mean, it wasn't just thrown out there, no, it's a caring. Accountable, meaning you must know what you do, why you do it, how you do it, and be able to answer. Motivated, and the motivation can come from lateral, it can come from beneath, it can come from above. But you must feel like you want to come to the work. And professional, doing what you do the best that you can do. That's what I want. And whatever it takes, that's why I say you are my number one goal. That caring, accountable, motivated, professional staff, that's my first goal. That's 25% of any money I have, any time I have, any effort I have, that's going to you. Thanks.
Testing, am I there? I'm sure you can hear. Right, thanks. Just to say one thing, Principal, thanks to our technology, I mean, I'm handling so much technology here, I don't know how we manage. But with respect to the SOE fund, I think we needed to say very clearly that what the principal has are those projects which come through our special projects unit in the bursary. That particular one does not, and that's why we would not have captured it. We will probably have to speak about how we can get it through our the appropriate system. I see Dr. Nair, and I'm going to line up just after Dr. Nair. I would like to ensure, Mitz, if you could help me. I don't know if Western Jamaica has any questions and how we would feed them, but if Western Jamaica has questions, we would be happy to feed some questions from the staff members at Western Jamaica. For now, we're going to hear from Dr. Sonia Nair. Oh, I can't see you. Who is that? Oh, how could I not see the president of MonaMedia? Is that you, Jeffrey? My humble apologies, sir. The glare actually comes right at me. So we'll hear from Mr. Thompson, Dr. Nair, and if Western Jamaica has questions, I'm sure Mitz will help us to feed those. So please go ahead, Mr. Thompson.
Sir, member staff of the University of West Indies Bookshop, president of the Mona Administrative and Technical Staff Association, as well as the 2018-2019 representative for administrative technical service staff for Campus Council and by extension F&GPC. Let me first of all congratulate our principal on his appointment as the CEO of this organization. Now, early this week, I would have celebrated 27th year of uncut service to the University of the West Indies. 27. So I would have seen, Prof, many changes throughout my tenure here at the UWI. And one of the most painful change I have seen is the lack of love and respect in professional relationships. Prof, when you, and I'm just kind of endorsing what Pankut said earlier about infrastructure to support staff. When you love someone, you care for them. And if you care for someone, you put in the necessary infrastructure for them to work, for them to produce, right? And I mean, theorists would argue that money is not a motivator. So what we need is love, right? And as well as tangible respect for our worth. Now, Mr. Principal, for far too long, we have been hearing that the Mona campus is the least paying campus within the UWI. It is time for us to fix that. And for that, I'm saying that we, in addition to promoting a cohesive single UWI brand consciousness, I would like to see you support a realignment of staff salary to finally reflect our worth here in Jamaica when compared to the other campuses. And that will truly bring us to the path of the one UWI experience. Prof, you know me, I know you from way back. I used to call her Dale, then Mr. Dale, then Dr. Dale, Professor Weber. Now you are the big man in the seat. And to whom much is given, much is expected. The Mona Administrative and Technical Staff Association is committed to working with you and your management team in order for us to get UWI Mona right.
Dr. Naya?
Good morning, colleagues. It might be afternoon now, actually. Professor Weber, I publicly congratulate you as well, and I want to also congratulate the university.
Mike, please, could we just make sure Dr. Naya's the mic at the aisle is on? Someone is coming to check on that.
Yes. Good afternoon, colleagues. I am wanting to publicly congratulate you, Professor Weber, and I also want to congratulate the university, the campus. We have been ranked in a position where we were not before, and I think that's very meaningful. You have underscored that point for us this morning, and I think we all need congratulations for that. Principal, in your address this morning, you reported that on asking the bursar about our 3 top income streams, you were only given 2. A viable third option, which you mentioned, is that of grant funding. And the $2.5 million the Faculty of Humanities received for the Imagine Kingston Conference was not, of course, included in your presentation, but there goes another bit of money that we also received. Every little counts. I wanted to say something particularly about grant funding because there is need for realignment in the thinking of every single member of staff at this university. And I mean to say that every single member of staff has the capacity, whether it is by mobilizing the resources necessary or by using their own abilities to write and request grant funding. There are lots of grants, not only in the Caribbean, internationally, that we can seek funding through. And I want to say that realignment is necessary because some of the times when we try to access the resources or to mobilize the resources necessary. It is the capacity that some of us do not have. And I'm suggesting that one of the ways we might begin this realignment is to offer this capacity building for people who are within the campus, who wish to, in fact, access grant funding and have the capacity in some way, shape, or form to be able to write those grants. I think this is critical, because if we're going to really expand our capacity for income, grant funding is a viable means to do that. The MORI has been set up, but I don't know to what extent MORI is really serving the whole campus, and this is something we might want to look at.
Thank you, Dr. Nile. Mitz, was there anything from WJC? Did you get any questions down there? While we await that response, could you just identify yourself, sir, and then we will take your question? Sorry, I'm sorry. I came to be just, central focus today. Could you just introduce yourself? We know you, but others may not.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Claudia Keldo. I am the Chief Delegate for the UAW, which is the University and Allied Workers Union. Mr. Joseph Johnson spoke earlier in regards to the situation that the staff members face. I firsthand witnessed the condition that the service staff especially have to work in. The proper protective equipment, no, nothing, limited. In the Department of Basic Medical Science, you have staff members sharing one mask. And that is unacceptable. When we look at other facilities on the campus, for example, certain offices, the standard is totally different. We look at the sewage plant. It's in a deplorable condition. I have lots of things written down, but at this time I cannot. If I start, I won't finish.
Well, let us have it, please.
I'm going to just summarize.
Yes.
Mr. Jeffrey Thompson spoke about the realignment, how the staff members are treated, the love. We don't show each other the love that we should. We treat each other as if we are not human beings. For the service staff, as a representative, I have to be begging for them to get certain benefits. The principal spoke about HR. HR need a complete makeover. And the university has grown over the years. I've known this university from 1994. And it has evolved. Student increase, staff increase. The staff, yes, it increased, but to a limit. HR is understaffed. There are times, some of them tired to see my face because I keep going to them. Do this. Staff members get a contract, the contract ended. Yes, you know your contract ended, however, you're still engaged 1 month, 2 months, 3 months without pay. That is not acceptable. What can be done in order to get, partly it's not HR fault, not all of it. You have heads of department, managers who sit in their office because they are getting their salary every month. They don't care about the others. They don't send over the requisition to HR. That's not good treatment. We need that to stop. What can be done to change this university? Not just, yes, you spoke about research. Yes, it's good. But who contribute to all these research? When you look at the service staff and the administrative and technical who contribute to all these research, they are not recognized. Only the academics are recognized. Where is the recognition that we are shown?
Thank you, Ms. Keller. I hope you'll let us have the full list, though. Well, please let me have that full list. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Could you just identify yourself?
My name is Lamont Bourne. In the 3 Ps that you were mentioning, Prof. Weber, I think as it relates to the partnerships, there are some things that the university campus-wide uses in terms of in the departments, whether it is liquid soap, whether it is whatever, all the things we use in the department. I think the university trains persons, they go out in the private sector, they produce stuff, and then we buy it back from them. I'm thinking that we have a natural products department, not sure what they do, but there are things that we could be creating for our own use internally, instead of spending millions of dollars every year buying these things. And that is something I think we should probably look into and see how we can partner, whether it is training people for industry, and as a result they support us with their goods or whatever the thing is, as against we always purchasing stuff. I believe there needs to be some standards as it relates to how we engage outsiders in terms of services and goods, in terms of one department buys from this place and they get something for this amount, we go to another place and we get it for another amount. I think there has to be some standardization in relation to how the departments engage services and goods on the outside, where we buy stuff from to support the business at the university. I think there should be some consolidation where those things are concerned, so to ensure that we get the best value for the dollars that we're spending. And issues of transportation, I think we engage a lot of different people to transport students wherever, all over the place. I don't know if there's any standardization as it relates to rates, but those are little things I think you probably should look into as it relates to consolidating cost, so that you ensure that you're not spending more than you need to on certain services.
Thank you, Mr. Bourne. I think we'll take one. Is that Dr. Naif? Right, we'll take Dr. Naif, then we'll have the questions answered by the principal, and I think if we have nothing from WJC, we need to begin to tie this up. So Dr. Naif,
yes. Things quickly. Irvin Allgate. I don't have any plans for Irvin Allgate in terms of what's happening over here.
I am not hearing so clearly.
Irvin Hallgate.
Oh, Irvin Hallgate,
It's
yes.
a kind of madness taking place at Irvin Hallgate. And your ideas in terms of how you can remedy that kind of situation. The second thing relates to when we speak of the sustainability of the institution and the whole thing of entrepreneurship. There are a number of entities that I know who thinks about this entrepreneurship, but I don't there is any consolidation of those entities and getting the right face in the right place, because sometimes it's not just about having a committee. Like have a set of committee persons who themselves are creative and innovative. And therefore they're on the committees, but they're not coming to any meaningful ideas. So you probably need to look at some of the persons and some of those committees. And the final thing is really to rethink what maintenance really is. You know, maintenance, I think, is an entity that can generate significant amount of revenue for the university. But I don't ever see the maintenance department as that kind of entity, you know. So is there any shifting in the thinking of how we should look at the maintenance institution, we put it like that university have?
Thank you, Dr. Naik. Did you hear him say it? I didn't. Okay. Ms. Brown, we'll take you and then we'll ask the questions. Have the principal respond.
Thank you, Registrar. Kay Brown, Business Development Office. Principal, as I listened to your talk this morning and presentation and sharing with us what you didn't perceive as a vision, but basically your vision and how you intend to accomplish it, I wondered where the third party commercial entities fit within this perspective, because in terms of expansion of products and services, there has been very little in terms of additional space that has been granted for such services. We do have a space, for example, the former staff canteen, which is being pursued for a large food service development. The cost is tremendous, and so finding partners willing to make that kind of investment is not so easy. But there are all the others on the campus, major contributors in terms of net surplus earners for the university. They have built all those buildings at their own expense at zero cost to the university. There has been requests for more space, for example, for the supermarket, the GK Foods, etc. And promises have been made in terms of proposed expansion of places like the Students' Union, etc., etc. But as I listened to you this morning, I didn't hear anything expounded on that aspect, providing greater services and products to the university and the community. And I would like to know if that is part of the global strategic plan going forward in the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Principal, can I invite you?
Thank you. So, Jeffrey, you and I know that the issue of parity between campuses is something that's been on the table for a long time. And it's not just academics that need to get to that. Because I'll tell you that a lecturer at Caville gets more money than a professor here. That's reality. So the call comes from many areas, and everybody needs to benefit. So I'm very willing to put it on the table when I go to senior managers, because I too believe in it. Because if we're one university and you are working hard here as a technician or as a member of the service staff, why would you be treated in a different way? Now, I know there are country differences, I know there are dollar value differences, but as one institution, there are ways to do it. You know? I mean, the UN has a formula that they use, and I've suggested it before. I know it's being considered, but I'm willing to take it on the table, and I will move, put it forward and see how far we go with the discussion. But you have my support on that. I think it's something that we should all be able to push for. Respect for what you do, as I said earlier, comes from, one, respecting yourself, and two, we need to set about making the change. But the change has to come with us. Respect begets respect, and we need to start respecting each other. What I'm promising is that from the top, this management team is going to offer you the level of respect that you deserve. So you will find that, no problem. But you need to be able to talk to each other. Don't diss each other because you think somebody doing a lesser job than you. I mean, I use the example of the car wash as just one example. Everybody has an important role to play, and the same in research. If you're going to do research in a lab, and the service staff decide they are, I wouldn't say they're going to sabotage, but if they decide not to do what they're going to do or supposed to do in that lab, the best results that you are waiting on to send to our international times higher education will become erroneous. You then fall off the scale. So the whole of us, all of us together, need to work as we move forward. So we need to commit to give everybody the recognition they deserve. But we need to talk about how we do that moving forward. The management team wants to work with you because I recognize that the Monats group, you're actually the largest group on the campus. There are more of you than everybody else. So we need to continue that discussion going forward. Grant funding. So Maury, I don't know if you remember that before I left to go across the wilderness, I wrote the document. So I'm very clear in my head about what Maury ought to be doing, could have been doing, and will be doing going forward. But mechanism now is to find how do we, first thing is they need to move from the place that they are. I don't want to describe it as an office. The location that they now have is inappropriate, and I do not want to have Maury or any staff of Maury try to go back into that office. So we're finding a new location, which is going to be the first thing. Then we set up that location with all the staff that it needs, because it's understaffed. And it now has a new head. In fact, we just interviewed last week, 2 weeks ago, Warren, yeah? And we now have an administrator, a research administrator who is coming on board. That person is going to be the research administrator in charge of Maury. And the reporting structure that we've set up is the one that I had written 3-4 years ago, where it reports to the Director of Graduate Studies and Research, because research is that portfolio, who reports to me. So it's going to have a direct line to the principal through Graduate Studies and Research. And we then staff it. It then will have 3 compartments in terms of what? In terms of grant acquisition, in terms of proposal writing. So it has mechanisms that will allow it to roll and reach every department. Now we don't want to bottleneck departments that are already doing things. We want to have their proposals pass through Mori so we can actually improve them. We may be able to find partners because we have found that interdisciplinary research is what really gets the big money. One group doing research, if you can link your research in education to something that's happening in social sciences and put it with media and communication, it becomes a huge possibility. So we're looking for that better bang for the buck, incorporating. So Mori is ready to be set up and rolling, and I would say within 2 months we should have everything in place. We will have a launch of Mori and we will talk through the issues and we will engage the faculties through the deans. In terms of what's happening with our service staff, I am more than concerned, and you've raised a number of issues there which I will put on early on the agenda. Personal protective wear is not a compromised issue. That's why it's called personal. You mustn't be sharing that with anybody else. I remember when Prof. Shirley asked me to take control of the sewage treatment plant, that's the first thing we did down here. Everybody had to get shoes, and the right shoes. Everybody had to get masks. So I'm surprised that you would have mentioned that. So Ms. Sambo will need to talk about that and see what's happening in that realm, because that should not be. And that's a part of the caring professional staff. You cannot ask people to go and work, especially in a volatile situation, without the right personal protective wear. So we'll look at that. That list that you have, we need to work that list. Registrar, we have a monthly meeting, I know, with each union group. So I'm hoping that you will be able to take those questions, as well as those from Mr. Thompson and from Professor Brown, wherever he is, to ensure that we address them and address them in a timely manner. Because, you know, part of the problem, no communication is worse than communication that says X or Y. Waiting for, I remember growing up as a lad, waiting for the beating was worse than the beating. Waiting for the benefit is worse than not getting the benefit. So let us communicate. So open the lines of communication so that we can continuously tell you what's happening, where we reach, what we're going to try next. Lamont, what you mentioned falls squarely in what I call efficiencies. When Prof. Shirley asked me to go look at the sewage treatment plant, he said, "But you don't claim you're an environmental guru. That is an environmental problem. Go sort it out for me." We have talent on the campus that we need to make use of. So I intend to do that. So when I start calling on people and say, guess what, your job is X, but I need you to sort out that for me, you'll know why I'm coming your direction. Because your skill sets allow you to do it. And I'm going to do this in a number of places, a number of ways. But chemicals, expertise, external transports, how we treat with that, and standards in terms of how we purchase. I know the Bursa already has gone back to the financial code to say a purchase order is not just to tell you what you want, but who you want it from. The 3 bids is so that his office can say, but wait, you know, some over there got this last week and got it for less. Did you check them? Get a bid from them. So it allows us to manage the process in a better way. I know you think the purchase order system slow down the work, but it also gives us an opportunity to manage the throughput as well as the cash flow. So that's all a part of the efficiencies that we need to take advantage of, and we're doing that going forward. I've already addressed the bursary and on that system. Sir Knife, Irving Hall Gate, that's an issue, but guess what? It's not the only gate. All the gates need work. All gates. The walk-foot gate that come in by Mona, that needs attention. In fact, right now I'm telling you, until we get the cogent thing sorted out, I'm minded to try and ask for some other way. Because it's really bad to walk in that gate now. I know that. I've been over there to see it. The front gate, well, I won't grudge anybody their gate, but there are 2 or 3 other universities that have put up gates, and I'm saying, what happened to me? Why my gate look so? So there are issues in terms of operation, as well as issues within the functionality, the aesthetics that we need to look at, and security, and the security. Well, I put the taximan within a security realm, because That's why we have them where we have. You know, the taxis made a claim that they must come on campus. They all want to come on campus. They ask if they can get a turning bay on campus. Once you open that window, we're gone. So I'm not going down that road. We need to find a way to work with them out there to get a better system. But you know, part of that discipline has to come from our students. Because our students and staff do some of the strangest things when it comes to those taxes. And you wonder, if they would do it in a more orderly fashion, if they would allow us to help them organize, then that would work. We have a plan where we're going to work. In fact, we met with Fable Williams, Member of Parliament, 3 weeks ago, to talk about the possibility of managing and training, and all of it was to help us get them into a program where we could do something with the taximen to see if we could improve the service they provide, since our clientele is their clientele. But we're working on that, so work in progress. On Entrepreneurship Knife, you know that you have that entity, and we will be calling on you. So we'll talk about the resources in-house. You are one such resource that we're coming to see how we can bring that to some of the things that we're doing day by day. Finally, Kay, the issue of the third party on our campus. Those are entities that I think provide a service. I take it back to, that's how we get that caring, accountable, motivated professional staff. Whether it is the supermarket, whether it is Juicy or KFC, they all provide a service which allow us to function in the way we should function. We want to get them on board. I'm not going to view them as primarily income generating. I'm treating them as a service provision, which makes our operations improve. But yes, we need to talk about how we view their expansion. I've been approached about the supermarket. We need to talk about the staff canteen, because that was a major part. I'm surprised Mr. Johnson never raised that. He raised it every time. Sir Joseph. So we need to talk about what's happening over staff canteen and how we're going to make the change that we want to make. It has the potential to move, to do a lot of other things. What do we want it to do? So I put that under the category of our development, our internal developments with third partners to be able to offer better services within the campus. And I think we can talk about that. So the BDO has a major role to play with that and the rest of the developments that we have. I think I've covered most of the questions that are there, Registrar.
Were there questions from Western Jamaica? If not, we're going to have to regretfully bring this to a close. Are we okay? Kushan, anything from Western Jamaica? Nothing. Well, there's some, oh, sorry, I still can't see. Yes, can you just identify? We'll take this as the last question. Unfortunately, we're trying to keep it to 2 hours. We know that you have to get back to classes and offices. So we'll take this and then we'll bring this to a close. Thank you very much. Will identify yourself.
Good afternoon. My name is Donette Wright-Mary, and I'm in the Faculty of Medical Sciences. As we think about our growth and development, I'd like to ask whether we've done feasibility studies to facilitate some of the processes that we have outlined for our development on our way forward. One of the things that I saw the principal mention was that he was going to expand some of our programs that we have. Sometimes we need to check whether those programs or our suggestions are coming in a space where all facets of the development and the processes are going to work together. For instance, a program that will educate postgraduate nurses may not only need teaching capacity, it may need clinical space and resources that are outside of the control of the university. And so I'm suggesting that proper feasibility studies be done so that we don't just look at additional students coming in, but we look at whether we have all the resources in place to support that kind of expansion. And I know that staff members from our department and other departments have raised that issue, but it doesn't seem like it is being aired in a setting where it is being taken seriously, because we don't want to introduce something that will fail because all the resources are not in place. Additionally, we have problems with resources. I don't know if everyone has experienced problems with our internet and with our electricity. We have had problems for days where most of us do work at our desk, and when we have no electricity and we have internet going on for hours, the productive capacity of your workers are affected at crucial points. Are we looking at how we can ensure that there's continuous supply of that kind of services to the staff and to the university at large? I don't know how many persons were affected. And as we also roll out our teaching and as a part of the access and so on to students, are we looking at the fact that our budget is affecting what we have for projectors, what we have for teaching capacity and so on? Because we are raising those important issues and they are not being addressed in a timely enough manner so that our product is being affected, our brand UE is being affected.
Thank you. Could you just, before you go, you did say Faculty of Medical Sciences, but it sounds, especially because you're indicating the difficulties with internet, we need to know which department.
I'm from USON.
USON, thank you. Principal, you're going to just take that and then we can close.
Thank you. For everything that I've inherited and that which I'm about to initiate, we do a feasibility study. In fact, some of the things have been slowed down because we're asking questions, where did this come from? Do we really need this? How is this going to happen? Who's going to pay for it? What's the end product? So there is a feasibility study that's being done, and a market survey precedes most of the courses that we're going to do and most of the things that we're embarking on. For instance, the nurses thing, that was something that was presented. We're the need for nurses. Now, you do have a good question. Do we have the resources? Well, I don't know if Dean Paul wants to take it, but I'm reliably informed that the rollout and the new structure that's being created will have those resources in place to meet the 150 nurses and some of those who are already there. They're saying that they will be bringing in a lot of the clinical components will be a part of that development. So it will not just be based on what's currently available within the hospital setting, but the new development has additional layers in terms of the clinical and the requirements required to get us the approval and to have those specialist nurses trained in the right way. To go back to where you asked a question, Knife, and I didn't take that one on. Maintenance has already started doing some of those entrepreneurial activities. But just like we did with the PPPs, they need to be properly managed. Because they easily, just like the PPPs, they could easily go astray and end up being a loss or a private entity, if you know what I mean. So, yes, they have the mindset, and I know Ms. Sambo has been working with her team. What else could we offer? What skill set do we have that others would want that we consider ourselves sufficiently professional to take advantage of? So we have that on board to work through. Thank you very much.
Well, it certainly just leaves me to thank the principal for having this town hall meeting and to thank you for taking the time to come and to ask questions that really allow us to dig deep into all of the plans that are being made for the Mona campus. I think I speak on behalf of the senior management to say we stand firmly behind the principal in supporting what he has, and we do look forward to your own support. I also want to say that the questions that have been raised, we're going to be compiling them, and the principal will have them. Ms. Keldo, if you are still here, we do need that. We do take it seriously, and we wish you all, I was going to say a Merry Christmas. I mightn't see you before Christmas. I might say Merry Christmas. But I'm sure you saw the holidays, right? Everybody saw the holidays. We're getting a clap for that? Yes. So, have yourself a good day, and we, I should mention, Kadian isn't here, but we did start some years ago the Mona Link. As far as I know, it is still active, and we will send out something for it. The purpose of the Mona Link was specifically for staff and faculty who feel that they didn't want to use this forum to raise questions, or it might be just something that came to mind in your regular course of activity. The Mona Link enables an anonymous way of sending questions, comments to the senior management. It's managed by Marketing, Recruitment, and Communications. I'm going to check if that is still available because I know the principal would really want to find out what your thinking is on a regular day-to-day basis. So please look out for a Mona messaging notice about Mona Link. We will remind you about how to use it, and we look forward to your comments. Have yourselves a good day, and thank you very much for being here.